Hello, hello. We are here. We are back as promised. Your girl's in the building, Lady Melson. I'm feeling good, feeling great. Got my little braids going on. So I just thank y'all for tuning in. I am so excited for our special guest, my girl, Jazzolina. I am going to just tell you a little bit about her. Okay, so 20 years in the game in production, television production, celebrity event. Like she does everything. Content creator. She worked with the best of the best. BET, Wendy Williams show. Also, she is now with Essence Communications. She has so much talent in the game. I'm just truly excited to have her on the Lady Melson show so she can tell you a little more about herself because the list goes on and on. So let's bring my girl out, Jazzolina. Thank you for being on the Lady Melson.
Hello. Thank you so much, Lady Melson. What an honor to be a part of your show.
I am truly excited for you to be here. Jazz, tell us a little bit more about yourself because I could go on and on.
I know. I really love the introduction. I was like, oh my gosh, I really have done the most. Yes, but to your point, I have been working in production for a very long time. I started off working at BET. I worked for a show called The Black Carpet, which was a really fun experience. The host at the time was Torre and Danella.
Yeah.
And we also work with America's Next Top Model, Takara. She was a correspondent on that show. I was really happy to get into production because I interned at BET as well. So it was really nice for me to be able to get a job, after interning there. And I interned for about maybe a year or two before I got hired as a production assistant. And I also, at the time working on that show, was working side by side with Carlos King, which a lot of people know. Carlos King is now this big time executive producer, has his own production company, Kingdom Reign Entertainment, has done Love in Huntsville. That happens to be a very popular show that everyone loves. And yeah, so we worked together on that project. And when he met me from the back, he was just like, you're so talented. You're made for this. And I want you to take my job when I leave here. And I was just like, oh my God, thank you. And, it sounded nice what he said, but I wasn't sure if he was going to actually, put action behind it. Well, he did. And that's how I started working there. And as I said, a lot happened after that. I did a few other internships, went back to BET as a PA. And that show, unfortunately, had gotten canceled because the recession had hit in 2009. So, girl, I had to pivot. And that's when I started doing wedding planning, which people don't really know that I plan weddings. I'm really on the hush about that. But I mean, I've done so much. Like I could just keep going about what I have done.
and that's why I had to have you on the show. I met you at work. You also is a student at Clark Atlanta University, a graduate in our graduates program, correct?
Well, no, I am a transfer student, and I am now
graduate school too. So we have a transfer student.
Yes.
I'm excited, and that's why I had to have you on here. When I first met you, you walked into my office, Jazz. I loved your energy. I felt like I was looking at myself because they get on me because how vibrant I am. And then when you walked in, I was just like, oh my God, I love her. So
we're both in New York, so we share that same kind of energy off the back. Once we walk into a room, everyone notices us.
And we the room. Okay, I am just truly excited, and that is why I wanted you to come on the show because we have some titles. Because we all know life be lifing. And one thing about the Lady Melson show, and my viewers and listeners, you guys can agree. I wanted to set this platform to just talk about realistic, real things that we are actually dealing with in the real world. So a lot of my topics have been about just things that we've been dealing with and how life is going to continue life and how we have to just keep going. So that brings us back to the title that I have today. It's called Life After Being Laid Off. And people can look at that as a good thing or a bad thing. In my case, a lot of times the way my God work is always a good thing. It's always a good thing when things like that happen. And that what brings me back to having you on the show, Jazz, Me and you
Which
have.
I was so happy to hear about this topic because it's extremely relatable to what I'm currently going through, you
Wow.
know?
Okay.
Yes, I recently was laid off of my job at Essence. So when you mentioned Essence in the
Yeah,
introduction, I
okay.
was just like, oh gosh, sensitive topic because I recently got laid off, you know?
Mhm.
And but as you mentioned, God always knows what's best for us, right? So like I just am now having a different perspective. Originally it was just kind of like very disappointing and sad for me because I'm also a single mom, and so I just was like immediately thinking about my finances
Right.
and just feeling like distraught about, no longer having employment and what that means for myself and my child. So at that moment, I did start to feel like, oh my gosh, like I felt like everything was just like falling apart. But God, I sat with that for a little bit, but then immediately I just was like, the God I serve is going to always find a way, to make opportunities for me, and I don't need
Right.
to worry. And worrying is worshiping the problem, and that's something that I don't want to do. So, I am laid off, but it's just kind of like amazing, when I think about it and I realize the purpose and the intention. I got laid off a week prior to me starting back at Clark Atlanta University, right? And I say back because this is me restarting, going back to college. And I'm a millennial. And, as we mentioned, when I was working at BT, that was also around the time that I was pursuing my bachelor's degree at City College. And at that moment, I was, hit with a big question of whether or not I was going to continue my studies or move on and start my career. And I chose to start my career. That's the direction I went in. And I just never looked back until now. And so now at this moment, being at Clark, that is such a major milestone for me. Like, I was rejected when I first applied back in like 2002. And I was so disappointed at the time. My best friend got in, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I wish I could, had that opportunity, but I felt like I didn't do my best in school. So it was a learning curve for me. It was a learning curve, and I learned from that moment. And I was just like, from this point on, I'm going to apply myself fully. And so now being here and being enrolled into Clark, and then when I got that message that I got laid off, it all happened a week before I started back in school. And I was nervous at the time about how I was going to balance going back to school and also working. And it was just like God made a way. And even though it didn't look like the way I wanted it to be, it still is the best opportunity for me, So I
And I love
just feel like
that.
it's bittersweet.
And I love that. And not to cut you off, Jazz. What I always love is that you kept smiling. Another thing I love is when I was following your page, right? And one thing I love, I came home and told my husband, I said, let me tell you what I love about Jazz.
Oh,
Even
thanks.
though you, even though you got laid off, right? You still went on Instagram and said, hey, I'm laid off. I'm looking for a job. This is what I got going on. This is my background. This is my experience. It's like you wasn't ashamed to put it to put it out there. And a lot of times we are embarrassed, or we hide the real person who we are. A lot of times when one door closes, a better door is going to open up. And sometimes it's God getting us out of our comfort zone. That is something what Lady Nelson is actually dealing with. He's actually working on me silently without me even knowing he was working on me. So a lot of times, like you said, the first thing you thought about when you lost your job, like, oh my God, I am a single mother, which I can, relate. I've been there before, and we're all sitting here like, okay, who we gotta, we from New York, or just in general, we got to think of a hustle. We gotta think of what's our next move. And that brings us back to me asking you a couple of questions, because you actually answered probably two or three of them. And this happened every show I have when I have guests. We get so
Box, so forgive me.
this is so my viewers and listeners, I always say, I want you to feel comfortable on the Lady Melson show and very authentic. And I love that we could just sit here and just keep it real and talk about topics that can help us. So I wanted to ask you a question. What did you learn about the job market? What did you learn about the job market, about the
Okay, I'll be right there.
Okay, it's all good. Lady Melson love the kids.
Sorry, real, my son over here
Lady
interrupting my
Melson, it is okay.
So my apologies, but you were asking me the question. Let's go back to that.
We'll go back to it. What did you learn about the job market or yourself after you got laid off? Because a lot of times when we get laid off, we be like, wow, we start investigating the position that we looking for a little more after we got laid off. And then we end up finding out new things about ourselves. And we like, hey, I think I might want to do something else. Or
no.
Now I'm kind of glad I got the time to look for something else.
Yeah, that's such a good question. I'm very happy you asked that question. Since I got laid off, I'm really enjoying being a freelancer. Like, I've always had very consistent work and working, in a space where it was, Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 or later, depending on if we had an event or whatever after work. But right now I am currently freelancing. I'm taking on projects whenever a friend, hits me up or someone referred me to work on a production. And I'm enjoying that because that is giving me flexibility in my schedule. But what I learned in terms of the job market is that right now, it's a really difficult time for pretty much everyone. And not only just other people, but just specifically Black women. Because I was reading an article about 300,000, Black women being unemployed right now. So the statistics are so high. And it's just really sad, but it's also the world we live in, where pretty much I feel in a recession, even though, it hasn't really been labeled that way, but there have been talks about it. And so the job market's just not good, and even with my qualifications and my skills, I still feel like, nervous about what that means in the long term wise, because I still want benefits, of course. So I would still like a full-time job, but I'm also just trying to be optimistic. So like, even though I see, the market maybe not doing as well as I would like it to be doing, I'm also just holding down and just keeping the faith, because that's all about, the unknown, right? So walking by faith and not by sight, because if we pay attention to what's going on, it can really distract us from what's ahead. And so I'm just trying my best right now to just keep my head up and put my resume out there. As you mentioned, I had to pivot and be creative. The world we live in right now, content is gold. And so what that meant for me is like, yeah, okay, I'm going on LinkedIn. I am applying for jobs. I'm on Indeed. I'm doing the most, but I'm also making sure that I connect with people that I know and talk to them. And like, connections is the key word here, because a friend of mine, Beverly Smith, was saying that she doesn't like to use the word networking. She prefers to use connecting, because that's building a relationship with someone, and that can help you in multiple ways. And so that's what I'm doing now, connecting with all the people that I have worked with in the past, and just trying something new, putting that digital resume together. Because I thought to myself, like, okay, well, I am applying on all these other websites, but most of the time people like to repost videos that they see on Instagram, and then that builds attention. So I was just like, okay, well, if I post a resume that's digital, maybe that'll get the attention of some people that can help me. And you never know unless you try.
I love, and not to cut you off, I love that you did that. And a lot of times, like I told you, sometimes being laid off can push us towards something new. Like, is God telling us, like, hey, yeah, that door might have closed, but I got something better for you. And it might be something that's out of your comfort zone, something that you didn't even think that you would be doing. So a lot of times I just wanted to ask you, there was 2 questions. So how can you walk us through the moments which you already answered, when you did get laid off, and did you feel any type of, it affects us mentally sometimes.
Well, the moment Lady Melson was tough.
I know it
That
was.
moment, I had a feeling that morning that something was off. And I was just like, I don't know why I just feel like something is off this morning. And in fact, the week that I got laid off was kind of eerie for me. A friend of mine that I had not spoken to in a very long time reached out to me and just texted me and was like, Jazz, send me your address. And I
Okay.
was like, okay. So I'm thinking she's going to send me an invite to an event that she's having. And, she's like very creative. So I was thinking maybe she went above and beyond and put something together, like maybe kind of like a Beyonce package situation. I don't know. But I was expecting something like that. Well, I come home and I came home to this beautiful, huge bouquet of flowers, the biggest bouquet of flowers I have ever seen. And I was just like, wow, like I was shocked by the size of it, but also the way it appeared, like something that Oprah would send to someone,
Oh, wow.
Like it was just really that extravagant, but it was gifted to me. So I was just like, wow, like this is beautiful. And like I mentioned, she and I have not spoken in a very long time.
Wow.
So even that gift to me symbolized something else, right? Like it just was like such a beautiful gift. And she said she gave it to me because she thought about me and she felt like I'm such a great person. And she just wanted to do something nice for me. And I was just like, well, thank you. It has been a tough week. So the day that I found out that I had gotten laid off, once again, that morning just felt off. And when I got the email that there was a reduction in force, based off of what I've been hearing in the news and things of that nature, a lot of the companies are laying employees off.
It is.
So yeah, so I felt like I was praying about it, but at the same time, I also am aware that this is happening, and it's happening to people that are great, and don't have anything wrong with their performances per se. It's just happening. And so it happened to me. And I got the email about the reduction in force, and I just immediately cried at that moment. I cried. And when I was crying, I looked up and realized that beautiful bouquet of flowers, and it had changed. The meaning had changed suddenly at that moment. I was like, wow, maybe this is a reflection of the beauty and the work that I have put into this position at this job, and now the flowers are here. Like I essentially am getting my flowers, for the work that I have done.
And and Jazz, that's to tell you, Lady Melson's going to tell you, to my listeners and viewers. I hope you guys are listening to Jazz and listening to me and Jazz Fellowship. God will send a message to you through flowers, through text messages, through posts, and he's letting you know, Jazz, I'm still with you, and I got something even bigger for you, because your personality is so big and beautiful, Jazz. To my listeners and viewers, just know to keep going, keep striving, don't give up. Jazz, what can you end us with? We have a few seconds left. What could you tell?
I'm just gonna say,
what could you tell them, girl? Listen, Jazz, what could you tell the viewers if they got laid off tomorrow, how to keep going? Give us some gems to end the podcast. Give it to us.
Okay, well, first of all, if you're a believer, then you're already off to a great start because God's got you. Ooh. So if you feel as though, this happens and you don't know where to turn to your Bible, yes. Build yourself up, because if you think about it, we have been in situations that are similar to situations that we have been through in the past. Right. And God has always carried us through. Right. And I feel as though if he did it for us then and he turned it around, he can do it again. He's the same God today. And I, have also been leaning on family and, making sure that, you have friends and family that uplift you, because you're going to have moments where you feel sad. You're going to have moments where you cry. You're going to have moments where you feel like at the end of the day, God is here, but your bills need to be paid. Woo! And in those moments, when that happens and you feel like you're at a crossroad, trust and believe the miracle will happen. As long as you believe in the miracle, it will happen. In that moment when you feel like you don't have it to pay the bill, somehow the money's going to come. It's going to come through a person you haven't seen in a while. It's going to come through a family member. It's just going to come. You just have to believe that and trust that, you know, and I'm believing that. And, you know, also believe in yourself. Have the faith that you can do it. You know, bet on yourself. Trust the process.
Yeah,
You
see, I
know?
love you back there agreeing. That's why. Let the viewers, let my listeners and viewers know how we can reach you, how we can find you.
Yes,
We can like
absolutely. So you can reach me
it's
on
okay.
my Instagram. This is
There
my
we
son.
go. There go my little nephew. Gonna
He loves the camera, so he wanted his moment, I guess.
let
But
him
yes,
have his moment on the Lady Melson show. I'm gonna have him on here. Gonna let the viewers and listeners know how we can find you, Jazz. Let us know.
yes, please reach out to me on my TikTok. It's
Okay.
at Jazzolina, which is Jazz and Olina. Also, the same handle on Instagram, Jazzolina. And right now, I actually am looking for volunteers for my Polished Angels events. I paint nails for seniors at nursing homes. And so I'm having an event here in Atlanta. It's coming up in October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so I would love for volunteers. You do not have to be a licensed nail tech. If you just want to do a nice good deed, this is a good opportunity for you to join me. So reach out.
We have lots to talk about. But that's crazy that you said that. I will call you. I will definitely try to be one of those volunteers, and I will definitely pass it on. You know,
I would love
I'm
that.
just so excited for you to come on the
And
Lady
thank you for having me on your show. And I'm proud of you as well. You keep going. You're doing so well. And shout out to you.
I love that. And don't be a stranger, Jazz. Do not be a stranger.
I will not. I will not. And thank you for making me feel welcome. You have a lot
Always.
to do with
Always on the Lady Melson
and
show.
welcome. So thank you.
Now let me tell you something. Don't give up. Just because you get laid off, that doesn't mean that God don't got something better for you. Sometimes He is taking us out of our comfort zone. Until next time, Lady Melson, love you. Please click a like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day.